The LEGO Movie 2, the second part, just came out in theaters, and it's just as awesome as the first. It has heart, it has humor, and it's got a whole lot of references and Easter eggs. With the LEGO Movie, you can't expect anything less. So today we're counting down some of our favorites with our list of the top 10 Easter eggs you missed in the LEGO Movie 2, the second part. And heads up guys, there are some serious spoilers on this list. It's also by no means a comprehensive list, so if you guys want to see us do a part 2 and talk about other references and Easter eggs that we found while watching the film, give us a shout in those comments below at the end of the video and let us know. But now, on to the Easter eggs. In at number 10, The Fellowship of the Ring. At the start of the film, Emmett has a dream, or rather, a vision or premonition, what have you, of the now Apocalypseburg, more on that later, and all of its inhabitants following into something called Our Momageddon. Get it? Like Armageddon, but it's because of Finn's mom. Anywho, the dream features a whole lot of familiar faces, including Lucy, following into what appears to be a big fiery hole. One of those individuals who falls into said hole is Gandalf, in essentially what is a recreation of the scene from the Fellowship of the Ring in the Mines of Moria, in which Gandalf holds onto a ledge to say his final words to Frodo and the gang, before falling into the depths of a hellish hole to fight the Balrog.
Fly, you fools!
While there is no Balrog in Emmett's dream, it still makes for one hell of a good joke and reference. And at number 9, Chris Pratt. While this Easter egg is pretty darn obvious, especially to anyone who had seen the trailers for the film, we still had to point it out. The film introduces a new hero into the fray who aids Emmett on his quest to save his friends from the dangers lurking in the Sistar system. His name is Rex Dangervest, and he's cool as hell. His character is basically an amalgamation of a bunch of Chris Pratt's cinematic storylines referencing his career. He's one giant inside joke. From Parks and Rec to Jurassic Park to Guardians of the Galaxy, all of which are references in his introduction sequence, along with the fact that he used to have baby fat and no longer does. Fans of Chris Pratt will recognize this as a reference to the fact that the actor had lost a lot of weight before taking on the role of Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy. In addition to that, Rex has a whole crew of raptors that he's trained as his spaceship crew, and even mentions listening to his mixtapes too loud, the former being a Jurassic Park reference and the latter being a Guardians reference. In at number 8, the Raptors. Speaking of Rex's raptors, the character has chosen some pretty great names for his crew members, all of which are sci-fi film references. The two most notable ones are Ripley and Connor, the former being a reference to Sigourney Weaver's Ripley from the Alien franchise, and the latter being a reference to Sarah and John Connor from the Terminator franchise. And at number 7, the Invisible Plane. There's a ton of references to Wonder Woman's various looks throughout the years, and various toy spin-offs, all throughout this movie. But one nice moment in particular is a major shout out to the character's history in the comics, and even in previous animation adaptations. There's a moment towards the end of the film where Rex is making a getaway, and comes across Wonder Woman seemingly floating in the air. She's inside of her invisible plane, which was a seldom used but iconic mode of transportation for the character that appeared in the comics, starting in 1942 in Sensation Comics issue 1. Now prior to the Crisis on Infinite Earths in DC Comics, when the character was given the ability to fly, she would have to use her invisible plane in order to get around. Now in the movie, Rex hijacks the invisible plane, although it's never seen again in the film. Quite literally. That's not a pun there, friends. In at number 6, Sparkly Vampires. Once our heroes have arrived in the Sistar system and have met Queen Whatever You Wanna Be, and learn of her plans to marry Batman, they're brought to a spa in the system in order to get ready for the big day, which is that day. Now this spa appears to be a brainwashing tactic, or at least that's what Lucy thinks. The spa is covered in sparkles and glitter, and is manned by a vampiric character, who, upon introducing himself, goes on listing a bunch of qualities that align pretty darn perfectly with that of Edward the Vampire from the Twilight series. So those of you familiar with the Twilight books or films will find this quite hilarious. And at number 5, time travel. After it's revealed who Rex Dangervest really is, Rex talks Emmett through his whole backstory again. But the truthful version this time, which includes a whole sequence with him time traveling. He builds a time travel device, but in order to do so, he grabs bricks and parts from other famous time traveling pop culture figures. This includes the DeLorean from Back to the Future, TARDIS from Doctor Who, and the hot tub from Hot Tub Time Machine, amongst other references. And at number 4, intermission animation. Midway through the film, just as action is really kicking off before the wedding ceremony, the film cuts away really briefly to a scene that's done in an old-timey animation, featuring featuring multiple characters dancing along with the title intermission above them. This is actually a reference to the intermission animations that used to appear in films primarily during the 50s and the 60s, often at drive-in movie theaters, or for films that were quite long in length, encouraging moviegoers to take a break to use the washroom and, well, buy snacks. It's a nice little throwback to film history in general. Moving on to number 3, Mad Max. Right off the bat, we're introduced to a new take on Bricksburg. Because of invaders from the Sistar system constantly destroying any construction that the citizens of Bricksburg accomplished, the Legoland has now become a post-apocalyptic wasteland known as Apocalypseburg. Apocalypseburg is a major reference to Mad Max, from its aesthetic to the wardrobe that its citizens now wear, and in particular, a sequence in which our favorite characters all drive through the desert to take on a particularly vicious alien invader, General Sweet Mayhem, which matches up perfectly with the iconic chase scene in the recent Mad Max Fury Road movie, in which tricked out crazy vehicles speed their way through the desert towards battle. It's pretty darn epic itself, even in Lego form. Lucy even has a whole moment before Emmett interrupts her brooding that matches up pretty well with a few shots of Charlize Theron's Furiosa as well, so keep an eye out for that. And at number 2, Bruce Willis. Another reference to an iconic action film here at this number. At the spa we mentioned earlier, there's a quick cutaway reference to Bruce Willis, who is actually voiced by the actor. He's sitting in what appears to be a hot tub. This isn't the only time in the film that he makes an appearance though. As Lucy is trying to escape the spa, she ends up traveling through air ducts, where she just so happens to run to Bruce Willis, who claims that the air ducts are totally not his home. This is a reference to Die Hard, the 1988 action film that starred Willis and famously features the actor crawling through an air duct, which has become one of its most iconic scenes, and even adapted into a Christmas ornament. Finally, and at number 1, 2001: A Space Odyssey. For any sci-fi or classic film nerds out there, you'll really appreciate this one. After the gang is abducted and taken away to the Sistar system, Emmett builds the remains of his dream house into a spaceship of his own to follow them, with his plan being to rescue them. Upon traveling through space prior from being saved from crashing into an asteroid field, his space travels may look pretty darn familiar to Stanley Kubrick fans. There's a short sequence that's a major reference to the iconic director's 2001: A Space Odyssey, specifically the film's Stargate sequence. In the Lego Movie 2, it's called Traveling Through the Stairgate, because, you know, going up the stairs to the Sistar system in Finn's sister's room. Nicely done. Have you guys seen the Lego Movie 2 yet? Are you planning on going to theaters to catch it? We had a blast and we definitely think you should. And if you do, let us know what references and Easter eggs you spot while watching. If you dug this video, spread the love, hit that like button, and if you want to hang out with us some more, hit that subscribe button too. We'd love it if you stuck around. In the meantime though, thanks for watching friends. I'll catch you all in the next video.